everybody, it's Nina. Welcome back to a new Studio Monday video. I'm going to be showcasing the beautiful Zig Gem watercolors. Now, if you've not used these watercolors before, these are beautiful jewel tones and they are a really pretty metallic watercolor. What I like about these watercolors is that not only can they be used on white paper and on your watercoloring projects, but one of the really awesome things about watercolors such as this is the fact that it works so well on dark cardstock. And that's what I want to demonstrate with you today, because I think this is where these colors really kind of show through and have a really vibrant and just pop effect. So let's get started in creating the card. When I was deciding what to do with these watercolors, I knew I wanted to be able to do some coloring on dark cardstock. And the thing that stuck out to me most was that I wanted the outlines to be able to show up really well. So I decided to do some heat embossed outlines, and the images that I'm using here for this card are from Pretty Pink Posh. I've got the beautiful Pretty Petunias stamp set, and then I also have the Hummingbirds, which are from another really cute stamp set, and these are both brand new stamps from Pretty Pink Posh. I'm taking them into my Misty stamping tool, and I'm going to stamp them down with clear embossing ink. And this is, like I said, because I wanted to do some embossed outlines because I felt that this would give me the best outline result. It would really make the colors pop, and it also is going to help with the watercoloring because the embossed outlines have a raised area once they've been embossed. So then you end up with these wells, let's put it as, for where your color is going to just stay in place. It's not going to migrate into another area of your coloring. So that's going to help you when you're coloring to not have any wet areas contaminate another color. So I melted that embossing powder, which was from Brutus Monroe, was the Alabaster White. And this is where I'm going to start bringing in the watercolors. Now, I'm coloring these images with very little water. I'm being very careful with how much water I put down here, because I don't want to oversaturate the paper. I want there also to be a nice vibrant effect with these colors. So by using less water, and I'm basically using just enough to get this to move, that's going to allow me to get the most vibrant results, and it's also going to help the paper stand up to all of the water. Because like I said, this is cardstock. This is not watercolor paper. So this is the Simon Says Stamp Soft Navy cardstock. I chose navy over black because I'm a color girl. I love color, and navy for me kind of almost sometimes feels like a neutral. So I went ahead and used that navy color to be my base layer for these colors. And in that photo that I showed you at the beginning of this video, you noticed how the colors on the darker cardstock show up so much more vibrantly. And that's what I really loved about doing this on the soft navy versus just regular watercolor paper, is that you get that vibrant effect. So I'm coming in and I'm coloring each of these areas of these hummingbirds and the flowers and just filling in certain areas. I'm not adding shading, I'm just coloring and adding a coat of watercolor over top of every image. Now you can also mix these colors. You can see I use some blue and gold to get a little bit darker effect for that blue tone. And I really like how that looks. So you can also mix and match these colors too to create new ones. For the most part, I stuck with the true vibrant colors that they are, but you can go ahead and mix them together to create new tones. Now, in some cases, you might want to go back over top of other areas. So for instance, I ended up going over with a second layer of the pink because I had some streaking. So I just went ahead and after it dried, added in a second coat, and that gave me a nice smooth finish. So depending on how you're coloring and how it may look when it goes down onto the paper, if you find that you don't really like the coverage, just go back over it. It's easy to go and add in a second layer of color, and it really gives a nice, beautiful effect, as you can see here. At this point, I have colored in all of the images. They are dry, and they're ready to be cut out. So I'm using the coordinating dies. If you don't have the dies, you could definitely fussy cut these images out because they're quite large and very easy to cut. There's not too many intricate areas. So I took the coordinating dies, cut out my images, and now I'm starting to arrange them onto my card base, which is an A2 size card. This is soft navy cardstock once again, and I'm going to pop all of these images up off of the card base, and that's going to give me a lot of dimension and give some nice depth off of the card panel. As I'm layering these down onto my paper, I'm making sure not to press them hard yet, so that way as I add these images down, I can lift them up and rearrange things and just get the placement just right. Now, one other thing I'll mention is that there are some gaps, and I like to make sure that I have everything filled in nicely. So I have a trick for you on this because, like I said, these are all the images that I colored. But we can use the pieces that are hanging off of the card to fill in the rest of the panel. Because we have all these smaller pieces now that basically we just need small pieces to fill in these little small areas. We don't need giant full images once again. So I'm taking all of those little pieces that I cut off that were hanging off the side of my card from the first set of images that I applied down. I'm just taking those pieces and I'm putting them in the corners and filling in the little spaces that are left open. And now I have a really great and full card design. And it was super easy because all I had to do was reuse those chips that were left over from cutting off the sides of the cards. So you don't worry about having to make sure you have lots of images to be able to fill in those nooks and crannies. You can probably do so just by going ahead and using the leftover scraps that are from the card that you cut off the first time around. So here's my panel ready to get a sentiment attached down onto it. Now the sentiment I used is from the Pretty Pink Posh Script Thanks die set, which is so gorgeous. But I wanted some separation between the flowers and that delicate script, so I wanted an outline, and outlines are so popular right now with sentiment dies. But this particular die doesn't have one. So I'm taking some vellum, and I'm taking the die itself, and I'm using a pencil. And I know this is kind of hard for you to see what I'm doing here, but I needed to get that pencil in over top of that die. But I am tracing the outline of the die. That's leaving me with an area that's slightly bigger than my sentiment, just like the die cut outline would have been if there was one. And I can fussy cut this out. And I'm not trying to stick directly to those lines. You don't have to, because I can go back in and erase those areas. And I end up having this perfect outline to go underneath of my sentiment. And it was very simple to do. All I needed to do was trace the outlines of that die itself, the whole shape, and that gave me a perfect outline that's perfectly sized to go with this sentiment. So this is a really great way to give yourself an outline if you don't have one for a die and you want to be able to give it an outline effect. Just go ahead and trace it. It's super easy and it gives fantastic results. So I attached that down onto my card along with the hummingbirds, and then finally I brought in some Nuvo white drops from Tonic Studios, and I added these in and around the flowers to give a little bit more depth and interest to the background. This also ties in some of that white outline, which also helps bring the whole card design together. By pulling in certain colors and areas of an image, like this white outline for instance with the white Nuvo drops, it pulls your whole card together and gives your design a very cohesive look. Alright, so that finishes up this card featuring the Zig Gem watercolors, which are super pretty. I hope that this has inspired you to try them out on your own and create some beautiful cards using these beautiful gem watercolors. They're very fun and very easy to use, and like I said, on dark cardstock, they just pop. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to check out these other two videos that feature some fun watercoloring techniques that I think you're going to enjoy. Thanks so much for watching. I will be back again very soon with another video, and until then, have a great day.